So the big question is this. How do you take $42,000 in assets in a one TrackMan Bay facility in the back of a CrossFit gym and turn it into a 12-bay, 17,000 square foot training facility in just a few years? That's the question, and this is the podcast that's going to give you the answer. Welcome to Inside the Room on Stock Shot Secrets. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Stock Shot Secrets. Talking about legends of golf, legend of the golf room. I've got my lead instructor, Mack McConaha here, coming in to tell us everything there is to know about Mack. I mean, Mack, we're going on, what is this, year 3?
Year 3, yes.
Year 3, because you started in maybe March? I don't know. February. September.
Yeah.
So, and just an absolute rock star. Anybody who has been working with Mack understands that this dude leaves no stone unturned, especially just, it's amazing how great you are in regards to essentially taking someone as a guide and then guiding them up the hill and guiding them up the mountain to accomplish whatever their goals are, and then meeting them where they are and kind of bringing the lesson, like whether it's terminology or the training or whatever, and bringing it to them. So it's been amazing for you to be here. So welcome, Mack.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So so you've been here for 2.5 years, but what about before that, right? Like when you were starting, like what was the story like, you know, BCTGR, right? Like where did the Mack story really originate from?
How much time do we have? So I would take it back. The Cliff Notes would be, I'm just a certified golf nut. I've been playing my whole life. I played my first official round of golf when I was 4. My mom and dad just weren't really able to give me golf lessons, so I kind of had to figure it out.
Yeah.
I remember when I was, I think it was my 13th birthday, I got my birthday gift was a 1-hour lesson from the local pro, who I still know, by the
awesome.
way. Ted Ossoff, hello.
That's awesome.
And I don't even remember what we talked about, but I do remember, wow, there's a lot that I just don't know.
Yeah. So
rather than delivering papers in the neighborhood, I was actually getting ready to deliver the papers. I see that the local country club, when that 13th year of mine, they were getting ready to have a caddy program. I go, here we go.
Right.
This is my opportunity. If I can, if they let me caddy being 13, then B, maybe I have a good shot at the pros kind of taking a liking to me and, you know, rubbing elbows with them, and they mentor me. And that's pretty much what happened. From there, I just started kind of, you know, working in the bag room. Back in those days, you didn't need to have
scrubbing some hooks.
Yeah, you didn't have to have a driver's license to drive the carts at 16. So, and it just kind of it took off from there. I was, you know, worked my way into the golf shop. Went to college for golf.
So it was like a dream, like from the beginning.
Oh, I knew very, very, very early on.
Were you really obsessed with like the technical side, even as like because we teach juniors, right? Like your bread and butter, especially is our futures program, which is for anybody who's listening in Columbus. Like what you do in the futures program is like I can't imagine anyone doing anything better in the country. But was it one of those things where like you were, and everybody's different, right? Like I was filming my swing at the age of 9. Yeah. Right? Like I was a psycho. Like, were you really into the technique, or was it one of those things where you were more of just a player and like hitting shots and like being creative and that type?
More the latter, you know, because I just really didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was just more about like, you know, being a kid and, you know, getting out to the golf course and, you know, going over to the practice green and just tossing golf balls.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like when I look back on that, I go, wow, how amazing was that? I was really smart.
Right.
Because, you know, to be able...
You gave that lesson yesterday.
Right. I mean, you know, being able to figure out where the ball needs to land and what the trajectory needs to look like and how it's going to maneuver its way to the hole. I mean, it was really neat to see how that comes full circle, but that was really it. I was on the grind just getting out there trying to play as much as I could when I was younger.
So fast forward, so you do that, you go to school, and then you become, what was your first golf job out of school?
So I took an assistant golf professional position at the Oakwood Club, which is no longer on the east side of Cleveland, in Cleveland Heights.
Big Browns fan, guys.
Oh,
big.
Enormous.
And Joe Flacco will trust. We'll see what happens over the next month.
Let's go. So, funny story about being at the Oakwood Club. So this is in 2002? ish. Yeah, 2002, 2003. We had a member there, Kathy. And back in those days, I guess I was ahead of my time. What I would do is after the lesson, I would type up lesson notes. And I would either hand them out at the club or, email them to them. So, like I said, this is like 2002, 2003. So, Journey comes around. I go to South Florida. I do my thing. I come back to Ohio for some family stuff. And I'm back in Northeast Ohio. So, this is like 2017. One of the guys, I'm working at Golf Tech, at a Golf Tech location, and one of the guys says, hey, there was a lady that came in here to see you. She heard that you're here. Her name's Kathy, and she left something for you. I'm like, oh, what's that? It were the lesson notes that I had originally given her back in like 2003. I couldn't, awesome. I was floored. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I got to read these. Like, do I need to give this lady her money back? Right. I mean, I'm fresh out of, right.
Was I blasphemy?
It was actually halfway decent. Yeah. And then next thing you know, she jumps on board onto my book again, and we kind of.
It's amazing. I mean, I've got every lesson that I ever got from Mike Bender, and I mean, I still will go back and watch them. And I mean, I used to watch those things like crazy, which is why I think it's so cool at TGR when we give, and even on the online program, like you've got all this stuff documented now with Coach Now,
right,
and everything else. So, what was interesting when you and I first met is what really struck me about you was how, nothing against Golf Tech, right? They're doing what they're doing, but what's interesting that what you wanted to do when you wanted to pull over and come over to the bright side and come over to TGR was how you understood the holistic approach to everything.
Yep.
Right. So kind of illustrate, if you could just talk a little bit about your passion for that, like TPI. TPI is a massive part of what you do.
Yes.
Right. And kind of, where that all stemmed from, why, and kind of how do you incorporate that into the lesson tee?
Back to the Oakwood days, there was only one lady that I could never help. Her name was Susan. And
Susie.
She would have been a nightmare to go through TSA. She had more pins and plates and bolts and screws in her. And I did not know what to do to help her. I did not know. I went to the teaching pro. I asked him for help. I said, hey, what do I do? He didn't use it as a teaching moment. He just took her money and kind of took off with that.
Yeah.
But, I was losing sleep over that. I'm like, my goodness, this lady paid me for help. And I just don't know what to do. So then you kind of fast forward to, I think it was somewhere around like 2007 or 8, like when TPI kind of first launched.
And TPI, for those who aren't aware, that's the Titles Performance Institute, who've done a great job in regards of connecting golf and body.
Absolutely. Right? Yep, the body swing connection. So I'm at a level 1 seminar in Orlando, and I'm sitting inside that seminar, and they kind of start to showcase the body swing connection. And, there's an infinite number of ways to swing a golf club, but there's one efficient way for you to swing a club, and it's based on what you physically can do. And then they're showcasing their curriculum, and it was like I saw the light. Like, oh, my goodness, this just makes total sense. I mean, if I have, like my cousin Tommy's got both of his hips replaced, if a golf professional tells him he needs to start to learn how to turn his hips more, it's not going to be fun for Tommy.
Right.
So that really struck me. That really changed the course of my life. And as you know, I mean, I am just a huge fan of what they do at TPI, and I continue education to them as much as I can. And that's just the whole core is, if anybody wants to get better, you need to go to somebody, a golf professional, a fitness professional, a medical professional who has a good network of a team. You got to have a team approach, and you have to assess, because if you don't, it's just a guess, and that's just really the nuts and bolts of it.
I love when, almost when our junior academy kids or just our players, and they go but you'll hear it more with their junior academy players, and they're talking to friends, and they're like, yeah, like who do you work with? Like, who's your swing coach? And they're like, I think it's just the golf room. Like, what do you mean? No, like who? It's like everyone.
Right.
I have a team of like 18 people that all are working for my benefit.
100%.
You know what I mean? Rather than like, you obviously have a mentor and a coach that we have it, but it's kind of like we're all surrounding the player to make them great. And that's also for the amateur, right? Like you got David and John, and everybody's got their hands a little bit into like the player's development in some way. Sometimes it's in the shadows and sometimes it's not. But you also take that into, which is so cool, and makes it so fun, especially for the Futures. And the Futures program is really a program that we've designed for players like 4 to 12, right? But you bring that TPI stuff and that athleticism into that Futures program. And it does a lot of it doesn't even have a golf ball involved. So can you talk a little bit about that and why that's important, especially at that age of, my 2 daughters are in it right now. Adler started in it. So how that's important.
Now he's helping us out.
I know. He loves coaching.
It's great. So that is what you have to do with kids. There's a 5-minute rule with kids. You got 5 minutes to keep their attention. Yep. So we have 5-minute stations, and that's what they rotate through. So you'll have, agility, balance, coordination, locomotion. And golf is always, at least 2 stations. Mm-hmm. As they progress, we make it like 3 or 4.
Right.
But that's what you have to do. You got to develop an athlete first. And you don't really know what the kids are doing on their own when they're at home with mom and dad, or,
right.
What other activities are they involved with. And, so once you have control of them, it's just really important to get them moving, get their explosiveness and dynamics going, and then, just try to kind of capitalize on honing that hand-eye coordination. And then from there, it's really cool to see what those kids do. But they have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah,
program.
I mean, I had Stan Utley on a previous podcast, and he was saying that, I go, Stan, were you always a good putter? Like, did you come out of the wound putting well, or like, was that a trait that you developed? And he goes, well, I think where I really learned it really well is I was a really good basketball player, and I could spin the ball a lot with my hands, and then I was really good at ping pong, and then I picked up a golf club.
Yeah.
Right? So like there's something, especially in short game, like how to move your wrists, and like I got to throw the bounce under it, and I got a table tennis and topspin one. That's to right. Like into the grain, up a slope to a back pin, and like all of these different things. Mm-hmm. And it's cool when you see the stuff that's in the futures, and I'm coming in there because we drop the 2 girls, and then we get to go, my wife and I get to go take a date on Thursday nights. But when we come back in, you'll see them, and it's like, okay, like they're doing left leg jumps. Yes. Like they just think they're jumping, but it's like you're actually just working on stability and your vertical force. Like I can see it just because I'm a golf nerd. I'm like, this is going to be great when they're working on like their coordination and sequencing, and like doing a band is like, very similar to a golf swing. It just doesn't have a golf ball. So
there's a couple of those. We had a couple favorites were sumo wrestling. So we took that big stability ball in between them, and they have to hug it, and they have like the ropes that are outside. Yeah. And they got to see who can shove each other out. And then the other one that we had most recently, which was a ton of fun, was we called it crazy statue. So the kids are standing inside of hula hoops, and they have to make this crazy pose, and then everybody else has to like replicate that, and we see who can hold it the longest. And it's like just being a kid, just having fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hey guys, I hope you are enjoying this episode of the Stock Shot Secrets podcast. If you are enjoying it, be sure to like this episode. Be sure to subscribe so you can always see when they are coming out. And most importantly, if you would be so kind to be able to share this podcast with other passionate golfers who are trying to get better and build stock shots, because it grows through you sharing it. Thank you so much for tuning in. And now back to Stock Shot Secrets. So what about just the role of, obviously, teaching? So you started teaching in 2002? Is that what you said?
Geez, I was, when I first started at the country club when I was caddying, I was a teenager helping them at junior camps, but yeah, my official role was right there, 2002.
How have you seen the role of technology? Because TGR's got like so much technology, right? Like, what are you doing now? How are you using all of the technology for the amateur golfer that's coming in that's one of your students?
I mean, the launch monitors are amazing. It blows my mind how they can pick up that, like on the radar. I'm like, you look at impact location, you go, oh, that machine just can show me where I hit the ball on the face.
Right.
Like, that blows my mind. That's really cool. What Sportsbox has done has been absolutely incredible. We want to be able to measure the measurable. So for them to be able to take that and not have, all of these cords and things hooked up to players, and it's super, super accurate, that's cool. And then, but I think probably the best tool is just video.
Yeah.
The video doesn't lie.
Yeah.
But it's really
worth
cool.
1,000 words.
Yeah, 1,000%. I think it's really important to kind of use that to the advantage of the player's growth. If I'm not really a visual person, am I going to be showing them a lot of video and this, that, or the other? Maybe they're more of a kinesthetic person, and that's where, you thrive with that. It's like, if somebody wants to get hands-on, all right, go to Kyle Morris. He's going to get over there and put his hands on and crank, put you in the right positions. And it's, you got to use the technology the right way, because, there's just so much of it out there. Even us as pros and coaches, we can just kind of get lost in the weeds a little bit with it, but it's just like,
and then it's being able to take that same stuff, and what you do an amazing job is take that same stuff of like all of these pelvic sways and pelvic thrusts and chest bends and all this stuff, and then boiling it down to something that's like super simple. That's like, oh man, like you just got to feel like you're like bending over like a cliff a little bit. Right. You know what I mean? Like taking all of this stuff and then pinpointing it to making it a simple thing that they can digest and they can go home with. And then also knowing, which is probably the greatest asset that that I think that we've developed at TGR, is the fact that there is a clear order of what we are doing, right? It's not like, okay, we're going to work on your early extension, but then we're going to go back here and work on your backswing. Right. And it's like, no, we're going to go in order because probably your early extension is a cause because of what you do in your backswing, which might be caused because of your setup, which might be caused because, back to the beginning, you've got a right hip that's, artificial or something. Sure. So,
well, that's what was really just, the kicker for me. And like you said, when you and I met, we were able to kind of get the ball rolling a little bit with our dialogue. And it was, you get all this great information with TPI, and you get to assess, and, there's all of these different kind of philosophies and methods out there. And, I think the great thing is that at TGR, there's a plan, and it's not just a plan. It's a master plan.
Hashtag master plan. So go rememberwhere.com/MP.
It's like you assess, you figure out what's going on, and you do what we always call first things first.
Right.
Because there's a cause and effect. And if we're coaches dealing with effects, then we're not an effective coach.
Yeah.
So if you can get it early on where the cause is, and that's what's beautiful about it. And geez, you walk into the golf room and you see the banners.
Yeah.
You're like, where do I start? Well, module 1's right there.
Right.
We got to learn how to hit a
And that's the beauty of it.
shot.
I've been kind of saying it to the students too. It's like, if you're hitting it bad, if you just took pictures of the banners, you go, okay, now I'm going to problem solve. Okay, first, is it my alignment and my grip and my setup? Okay, those are good. Great. Now, is it my tilt? Is it my turn? Is it my hinge? Okay, those are good. Is it my shift? I'm spinning, I'm not shifting. Oh, okay, that's why I'm hanging back. So that's where I'm hanging, right? Yep. And the nice part is your student could come to me and he'd be like, yeah, I'm on word 3 of banner 3. I'm on hinge. I go, great, know exactly what we're doing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, and it's not like we're not reinventing the wheel. We're just, like I said last night to you guys on a text, I'm just a massive nerd and just study swings for fun.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's cool. And it's got to be cool for you too, you're far enough along with what you've built, the empire at TGR, to where, some of those kids that have been in the program for years and years and years, they do exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's like, we're there to help guide them, but, they know.
Yeah.
They know what they need to be doing.
Yeah.
It's super cool.
It's pretty crazy how I'd say, a lot of our academy kids could probably be really good teachers and they're 17, 18 years old.
Oh, yeah.
So diving in, what about just the mental side of the game, right? So we talked a little bit about the physical. We talked a little bit about the technical. How do you kind of see the amateur golf on the mental side of the game and just the aspects of that entailing?
I just think in life that's important for you and I. That kind of strikes a chord with us.
Yeah.
The mental health and things of that nature. But from a golf perspective, you reap what you sow. Mm-hmm. One of my famous sayings is positive shots, positive thoughts equal positive shots. Mm-hmm. And that's really important because if you're out there, man, I'm a really terrible putter. Okay, you're probably going to have a really bad day out on the greens today, Yep. But being able to, the one thing I liked, what you had said one time when we were, I think it was in a TGR live, and, you're like, oh, when I'm playing, it's just, I hit a bad shot and all of a sudden I go, that's weird.
Right.
That's weird. Right. I do not ever hit a shot. Did you guys feel that gust of wind and everybody's looking at you?
Got my ball in the air.
Everybody's looking at you like, this guy's lost his marbles. There was no gust of wind. There was no bird. And it's that, but that's what you got. I am so good that there's no way I could have done that.
Right.
Something had to have happened. And
compared to the old, here we go again. I suck again.
Right. And you just go down that rabbit hole and good things don't come about. The glass is always half full. Mm-hmm. You always have to move forward, putting one foot in front of the other. And it's, look, there's going to be another opportunity, another shot. Just because you hit a bad shot, the next one isn't more important. Every shot is got the equal amount of importance.
Sure. What do you find just as common, for, I guess for the, let's when we change it up a little bit. If you had a new student coming to work with you, right? They're listening to this, they've just signed on, they're getting ready to work with the Mack, right? Mm-hmm. What would you say, what piece of advice would you say for you go, hey, we're about to get started, here's what you need to understand?
I think it's more me understanding what their philosophy and outlook is on things. Mm-hmm. A lot of times you go, what are you trying to do? I'm trying to hit it straight. Oh boy, well that's not going to work well.
Right.
The ball's always curving.
Right.
So we got to be able to figure out
what stock shot secrets.
100%. You got to be able to figure out, what's their approach, what's their philosophy, what have they been told, what are they trying to work on, and then from there just going, hey, this is really what you want to be able to do. We got to be able to have a goal of always knowing where your miss is going to be. Mm-hmm. Is it going to be to the left of the target or the right of the target? If you have a two-way miss, or you don't know where the ball's going, or you're just trying to get it as close as you can, that's not the right approach. That's not what the pros do. It's not what the best players do. So I think it's more of just saying, okay, what are you trying to do? Let me partner with you of letting you know, are you right or wrong? You probably shouldn't be keeping your head down when you're swinging the golf club. How are you going to rotate through it?
Right.
But there's a lot of misconceptions out there. There's a lot of bad advice. It's just more of hey, let's clear the air. Yeah. Let's go right back to ground zero. And then as you move along, you're going to have an awful lot more knowledge about the game.
That's the same exact thing that Stan was actually uttering on that other podcast as well, was just the fact that I think we do an amazing job of it, of indoctrinating the student as to what is truth.
Yeah.
Right. So when someone says their buddy's you should do this, it's nah. Or you decelled. It's nah, it's not actually a thing.
Right. A lot of times, you're playing with your buddies that maybe are good players, and they're telling you what they do. But they don't even know what they do. What's real and what you feel are two different things.
Yeah. And last question, what about just in regards of students, what do you find the most successful students? Because all of your students, they do amazing. What do you find in what they're doing in their process that makes them really successful inside your, we'll call it your learning system?
I would say if they actually stick to the practice plan. Okay. I think that's the biggest thing. I remember I was at a World Golf Fitness Summit once, and an advisory board member for TPI is Dr. Tim Lee. And he said there's 3 bare bone essentials that every single player has to do to get better. And then he got my attention.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, you have to understand.
You guys should all get a pen and paper.
Yeah, 100%. Number 1, your brain's got motor skills and cognitive skills. Golf is a motor skill. You can't change or alter a motor skill. You can only build a new one. So if you're going to build a new one, you got to run your brain through a bare minimum of 60 motor reps every day. Every day. Like a handful here, a handful there. You got to try to build that, I guess, what most people would call muscle memory.
Right.
Number 2 is golf fitness. That's the best way for your brain to communicate with your body.
Mm-hmm.
And then third, and you can make an argument that the third component may be the most important component, because that's when you're putting time into the game, is having the right practice plan structure. You got to be able to warm up and go through your programming and block and random and compete. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing how we force feed that to everybody who comes into TGR.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love to know what the percentage of people who actually follow that plan. The people that do, to your point, the people that do are rock stars.
Right.
They're the people that really advance, and it's there's your holy grail. I'm literally giving you the winning lotto tickets. You just got to go buy the damn ticket.
Right. And I think it's the thing too. What I find with the program, block, random, compete, and for those, we did a podcast on it, but the programming is basically setting the foundation and lasers, mirrors, making sure Tai Chi will say super, super slow motion. Block practice is when you're using your noodles and cones and you don't care where the ball goes. You're just making a pattern that is absolutely as perfect as you can make it. Could be slow speed, 20%. Then random is kind of the bridge between the two, different targets, full routine, and then competing is you don't really necessarily even care how it looks, just make the ball go in the hole, right? And creating stress. But it's almost like a separation of type A and type B, where you have people that are type A and you have people that are type B, and it's the goal of the type A's to kind of be like the type B's and the type B's to be like the type A's. Yep. So you have guys who are really like me. I was really, really good at programming and blocking. I needed to be better at random and competing, and if I could go back, I would have. Yep. Then you have people that are just no, just let me hit balls. I want to go play. And they're really the random and competing is but you need a cone and a camera.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's and I think it's our job, and it's one of our callings of discipling them to lead them into a little bit of the other side of the circle to hopefully meet in the middle.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, make them well-rounded.
And kind of guiding them. So that's amazing. So thank you so much, Mack, for being here. This is awesome.
It.
Thanks for being a part of TGR. You're amazing.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming down on the Stock Shot Secrets.
My pleasure. It was a lot of fun. Thanks.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the latest episode of Stock Shot Secrets. Now, as a listener of Stock Shot Secrets, I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to get better. So if you were to go to stockshotclub.com, I'm going to give you 7 days free access where you can send us your video and we will give you personalized individual attention as to what you need to do so that you can start building stock shots. So just go to stockshotclub.com and register there. We'll give you 7 days free where you can try it. And then if we like it, you can stay inside the Stock Shot Club where we can become your coach and walk with you for your entire journey. Thank you so much. And be sure to go visit stockshotclub.com.